I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast.
So who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all grown up? Who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all for us? Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Dallas Famous Podcast. We're kicking it off with a bang as we have legendary hip-hop producer Jah Born. Jah Born made a name for himself producing and helping create Erykah Badu's first album, which won him 2 Grammys. That introduced the world to neo-soul. Since then, he's worked with every big name in hip-hop and is showing no signs of slowing down. We get to know Jah Born and talk about some highlights in his life, including the time he spent in RZA's band and how he got the name Sample Samurai, just to name a few. I absolutely loved hearing his stories, and I know you will too, so sit back and enjoy my chat with Jah Born. And we are back with the Dallas Famous Podcast. I've got Jah Born sitting with me. Very exciting. Yeah, thanks for coming over. Let's start. I mean, I know the answer, but I'm asking anyway. Like, ask everyone. Are you from Dallas?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, okay.
But I've been here my whole life. I was just born there. I was there as a very young youngster, and came here in the early '80s to Dallas.
Okay. And then I think I saw you started messing with music at 13, 14, something like that.
I would say even younger than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I became a musician at a young age in elementary school. I say around 3rd grade.
Oh, were you playing then?
Well, I was going to school in Dallas, and I started playing the cello in 3rd grade.
Okay.
Yeah, orchestra.
I mean, do you still have any of that knowledge going, or?
Well, you kind of don't lose the knowledge. I think you always kind of have an ear for the music, you know.
Absolutely.
As far as like sitting down and being like the expert at it right now, I wouldn't say that. But I also played the violin and the upright bass.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? In high school and in middle school.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I got into. Got my ear for music.
Right. And then, I mean, was it the sort of thing where you started in school and then you kind of started hearing stuff outside of school, so that kind of took your interest a little bit away from
Of course. I got, definitely a lot of music in the household growing up, especially I've got Caribbean roots on both sides. So, and then you put New York in the mix and then a time like the 70s and 80s as a young person, I'm just inundated with so much music at home.
Yeah.
So, definitely, I that's where a lot of my inspirations came from, and I had to have an outlet to go at least play. I know if I didn't do orchestra, I'd probably be a percussionist or something. Mm-hmm. Something was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I played sax in school. I learned piano by ear. Mm-hmm. But it was cool to have that early on. Although I didn't really, I feel like I wasn't listening to really good stuff to like later when I started playing keys a little more, I would hear stuff, be able to emulate it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I didn't have a good education until college, I feel, with music. What was hip hop is already a thing. Like, what was the first kind of stuff that was influencing you at that young age?
At a young age, I would say I kind of got to dial in because my aunt and my sister were my babysitters, so to speak. My other siblings as well. I had an older sister that always listened to R&B and soul, and I got a lot of reggae. I feel like hip hop came a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if hip hop was the very first music that I could notably identify that I was listening to, because I would say Prince or Michael Jackson very likely was
Right.
the most like that sticks out first.
Sure.
And I'm talking about like super early Prince and Michael Jackson. The Jacksons was popping around, 1980, 81, 82, 83. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was really so that's the answer right there.
Yeah, that's more accessible probably too.
Yeah.
So, well, then how did you get more into hip hop? Like, what was that bridge?
Oh man, just having a connection in New York with my family.
Okay.
And so just traveling back and forth and interacting with them, it gave me access to what was happening musically in the streets and with New York back then. So that's how I got exposed to hip hop. I would end up hearing like a DJ Red Alert tape or something, who was a DJ that was doing the mixtapes, and he was on the radio too. And we would, back in the days, like especially in the 80s, we would record radio stations. Like we have like a jam box with records. So I'd literally when I would go with my family, I'd literally be there and find a way to record the radio. If it was at one of my family members' house, and I bring that back. And that was how I got exposed to hip hop, man. It was really New York and just having the connection with my family.
So I guess back then you wouldn't hear that music here at all anywhere, right?
I know you did. You did hear hip hop here. I wouldn't say you didn't,
but it's different artists. You hear more local stuff. Is that
no? I think it was what was the most popular is what you heard here. Remember, we had Tom Joyner as a radio station. He's he's a legend, a radio legend, and he was, flying back and forth doing the two radio shows, the one here in Chicago every day. So I feel like having him in the fold helped us to get that music from across the country, because he was a national, like syndicated, like big time radio DJ and a radio voice in the 80s.
Right. So that makes sense. So yeah, okay, because it's like not like that as much. You're not getting exposed from a radio station anymore, really. I guess there's other avenues, but
right.
That's a whole other conversation that we will get to later on. Well, so then when you first, like, what did it look like when you first started? Were you programming first? Were you performing first? Like, how did that start for you?
You know what? Programming, because my dad was a DJ in the 70s and the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And he still is. He still has that. Shout out to my pops. And so I guess you could say I like he wanted me to be a DJ, like he was
right.
Like there's a place in North Dallas called Crossroads Audio, and they used to have DJ setups you could rent. He would rent them on the weekends. He'd go get me a DJ setup, rent it, 1,200 turntables on the weekends. Like the 1,200 Technics model. Rent them for me. Got me a mixer. Showed me how to mix. So that led to me wanting to program the beats. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As a young person, it was just like, oh man, I love the DJ, but I really like the beats. Mm-hmm. That's what I like. That's what I want to do. And I got into programming. And I would say I had a Casio that was, you could sample and you could sequence on. Mm-hmm. So that was like probably 86.
Yeah.
87. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about, I'm pinpointing like years. That's crazy.
Right.
But yeah.
I had a Dr. Rhythm around that time. That was my drum machine.
Right. Oh, yeah. Man, if you don't have a Dr. Rhythm, at least have some experience, put it on your resume.
Yeah.
Because if you don't really know what
right.
what real beat sequencing is about.
Yeah, that was a fun time. I was into all that stuff. But I was just making it sound like, acoustic drums. I was not exposed at all to any hip hop at that point. Yeah, I think Beastie Boys was the first thing, which is really sad that that's the first. But
man, Beastie Boys was and so speaking to them, Beastie Boys one of the first groups that I really liked. Okay. Rather than Run DMC, and I didn't like my generation. I'm Gen Xer, so think we were less Sugar Hill Gang era, more Run DMC and Beastie Boys era.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we're the same age pretty much. I mean, I graduated 87, so.
Yeah, okay.
But so then your programming, at what point were you, maybe were you recording first? Were you going live for, like, what happened next with how did that lead to the next thing?
Man, okay, well, so, there's an evolution there. And as a young person in the late 80s and early 90s, like I said, I went from DJing. I started making beats. I guess that's what you call it, what we were doing. I started doing that, man. I got into that strong. I loved listening to the records in my parents' record collection. Eventually, I started going to half-price books and buying my own records. And it was just the whole act of just going back, listening for different inspirations in these records. And I'd sample it. I'd record parts and then I would make drum loops around it. And that was my thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't get into performing as like a musician until later in my career, after the success or the initial success of Erykah Badu's On and On.
Uh-huh. I
didn't get into that aspect of like playing live in the band, like with RC and the Grits and some of the other ensembles, the Beatitudes. We were doing stuff for a minute. I didn't get into that till later, man.
Right.
Till I was closer to 40.
Well, so when you're doing, I mean, forgive me that I'm so naive, but like, were you doing the beats and then like, were people rapping over it? Were you like doing sessions at home?
Man, you know what? Everything, all of that, because it's like this. You have your time, as a creator, you have your time where you're in solitude and you're creating. That's the golden time, right? And then you have the time where, especially as a young person, where some like-minded people are going to be in your surroundings and in your environment. People you can bounce ideas from. Your friends. Shit, we were doing hip hop, so, it was like I was like the epicenter of coolness in my crew, and where I lived at. Where I lived, like my friends in the apartments would stop by. They knew I was doing music. I had friends that would stop by. Friends that would stay on the second floor. They would be outside listening, trying to see what I was doing. So I always would look out there and somebody was hanging out, trying to, hear some music and stuff. And so yeah, man. I would have frequently. I had somebody show up that could rap, or sing. You know what I mean? And that was also, those were also the golden moments, because that's how you kind of what you've created. Somebody could actually, like somebody's actually inspired to sing or say something. That's like, okay, yeah, I got something.
Yeah, I can see too how you're home alone and then you're just doing the stuff. You think it's cool that someone comes in. I mean, that's the magic, right? I mean,
yeah,
that
that's definitely the magic, man.
Yeah, that's cool. Is that when Erykah comes into your life, or?
Well, in that stage, yeah, because when I would say this is around '94. At that point, I was out of school and I was working and doing my thing, and I would look forward to coming home from work and creating music. I used to work downtown. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day. And I lived in North Dallas. So that commute was one thing. And as a young person, in the commute, whether I was on the DART bus or catching a ride, because this was pre-trains era. I would just have so much like inspiration, man. And I would get home and just go, and then hit the repeat every day. So, so when Erykah came, across, like my creative zone, like when we met, and she was not, this was before she released her first song. My song I produced for her was her first single, very first song, very first,
right, yeah,
like big song, the very first drop.
Before that, she's just someone else in the scene that that will sing.
Yeah, man, there's levels to that story too, because she was with Rob Free, like they had a group, Erykah Free, when I met them, and it just so happened I went to high school with Rob Free's younger brother, so and then their house where Rob Free lived was like my best friend in high school lived like right around the corner from him, like literally, like his one street corner house, the homies right there, other street corner house, like the next one is Rob Free.
Yeah.
So it was like how the universe kind of like moves things around and puts it together, lines it up.
Yeah.
So the first thing was Rob Free's brother in high school, and then I'm hearing like, man, like they got beats over there, man, at that house, man. They got beats at that house, and I ended up meeting Rob Free, and wow. I mean, amazing, just blown away at what the music he was creating, and he had like his setup was advanced at this time. It was like my first time seeing a setup like that, and man, it was a great time.
Huh? Yeah,
definitely
cool.
Back then, so I met Erykah around that time, 94 ish, and when she was able to, like, when I had, out of our creative session, man, I was just blown away, not only at the fact that she was able to write to something that I, created, but also I was just blown away at her voice, you know what I'm saying? And just at the amazing personality, the person that she was at that time, just an amazing spirit to be around. Something I know that I hadn't come across, a person like that I hadn't come across, and the world hasn't. For sure. And the world got a taste of that. Yeah, I mean, at that point in time, like that personality, she just was one of a kind. Human.
Still,
you know what I'm saying? Total Dallas representative.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To the heart. And, I hadn't come across a person like her, and the world hadn't. And eventually the world was moved by her presence. You know what I'm saying? And her words, her bars, like they call it, with the writing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They were moved by it, and she made some noise with that. You're saying, you're obviously, you saw that in her, but she must have seen something in you. Like that collaboration, that's not just her. She must have felt that from the other direction. Yeah. Yeah, of course, man. I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
We definitely were able, like, or musically, we liked the same type of vibes, man. Sounds, So it was just a matter of just the marriage of her voice with the music, making that happen. As a musician, you already know it seems like a complicated process from the outside looking in, but a person who has natural talent, they'll blend like butter into good music. And even if their voice doesn't match the actual track itself, they can still feel good about what they're listening to, and they can know that the producer, the creator, they can say, okay, yeah, that person got the mojo. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
For me to be on that list with her is, man, not only a blessing, it's humbling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now in hindsight.
Yeah.
20 plus years ago.
That's, yeah.
You don't see it when you're like a kid at that age.
Yeah, but you guys made a mark on the world with that,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. So, and then you win, 2 Grammys from that? Is that right?
Yeah, well, for with On and On, it was Best R&B Performance, got a Grammy. And the On and On was on the album that got the Album of the Year.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. That's amazing. That's great. And then, God, so you aren't performing at this point. You're just like a producer, more or less, at this point. You get this Grammy, and now your whole world has changed. Like, what happens next for you?
Oh, man. Opportunities to go work and be in high-level environments of recording.
Yeah.
Like my recording experience, it really began at that point.
Right.
Like prior to that, I was really like recording pre-K, preschool.
Right.
And when people saw that I had that accolade, then they took me more seriously when I was around, and they wanted me around more.
Sure. You prove yourself with that. I mean,
I was blessed to have been able to meet so many good engineers and producers and artists in that
sure
time frame. And like I got to think back to 97, 98, 99. Like if I really pinpoint some of those times, man, like, you know, like I can tell you, I've been in proximity to some really great artists that are superstars now. Back then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The list is crazy of who you've worked with. I mean,
oh yeah, man.
I'm just going to read some of these just because people need to know. Like RZA, Will Smith, Lil Wayne, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, Scarface. I mean, DOC, local. I mean, is there highlights in there in those people or others that I didn't
Absolutely.
mention?
Well, first I got to shout out to the DOC.
Yeah,
the DOC is one of our local legends.
Absolutely.
Okay. I could have bigged up RZA first, but I'm not going to do that because I got to shout out to one of the people who paved the way for Dallas the local scene to get some national spotlight. Okay. Mm-hmm. I urge everybody that's listening to go check out what the DOC is doing right now in the community, and where he's at with, you know, just period in his career and life.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. And if you're a music aficionado, gangster rap aficionado, or Dallas music lover, then it's definitely dope. Get up on what he's doing right now. RZA, you know, working with RZA was amazing, to say the least. RZA took me under. We got the same case, bro.
Oh, nice.
Great minds think alike, baby.
That's the hats, the phone case. Yeah,
man. So RZA's Wu-Tang.
Yeah,
and so I mean, he took me under his wing in a sense. You know, he knew the song I produced. He's like a big brother, OG mentor. And I learned a lot from being in the studio with RZA. So I have to, you know, like, hands down, I mean, as a producer who was inspired by Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
You know, that was like, you want to have music like that as a young producer, you know?
Sure.
To be able to work with RZA, to be his band.
Yeah.
For a couple years, man.
That's mind-blowing.
Dude, that's mind-blowing. And we traveled, and this wasn't Erykah Badu now. I played in her band many times.
Sure.
Many times. This was RZA. This was like, we went from soul, you know, side, a little bit softer. So now we're in grimy hip-hop world, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where the concerts are rowdy, not violent, just rowdy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a different crowd.
Yeah, definitely a different crowd. And man, I'm just up there doing my thing. I got my MPC drum machine. You know, that's one of the tools that we use, and to have that there. And then those moments where they had other surprise members from Wu-Tang show up and cameo at you know,
right.
Those, to me, it was like witnessing history.
Yeah.
And being a part of it.
Yeah, being a part of it.
So shout out to RZA. And there were moments when nobody was around where he would just drop lessons on me, man, teachings. You know, like he would say meditation is medication, and you know, it was like being in his presence. You're gonna learn. He's gonna teach. It's not like some guy just being a hip hop guy or whatever. Not, you know what I'm saying, caring about who's around and living haphazardly. No, man. I mean, he would cook for us when we stayed with him. He cooked for us. We was in the studio a couple times. He cooked. He bought food.
Yeah.
Cooked, prepared it for the fam, for the crew.
Yeah.
And that's just stuff that goes beyond the music, man.
Yeah,
you know,
like a good person. Yeah.
It's a good person, man. You know what I'm saying? And he valued our presence. It's not like he just thought we were just some expendable people that he's just paying and to go do a task or whatever. I mean, he actually valued our presence, valued our opinions. Was a great team leader.
That's cool to hear, because, you know, people that are doing their own bands in that position, they can hire people and not even talk to them if that's what they want to do.
Yeah. Nah, he engaged with us. He took us out to eat. One thing we did do was we ate together.
Yeah.
That's one thing we did. And he shared lots of memories, man. That's a whole other conversation. But what I could say is this: I learned a lot from him, and I'm thankful to the Most High for bringing me across, for giving me that blessing. And a lot of people, a lot of young producers back in the 90s I would have never dreamed like. That's beyond my dreams.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's mind blowing. I get it. It's so cool.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's funny. Like you started turntables, like, and these are the people you're listening to as a kid, and then now you're in that band. Like I can think of comps in my head, but I can't imagine it actually happening. That's crazy. Yeah, so then, I mean, all right. Well, I just have to ask you about Sample Samurai. Where does that come from?
All right. Well, the act of taking a sample, which is just any amount of audio in a space of time, just a sample. Or if you record that with intent to recreate or build around it, that's a sample. All right. The sound bite, that's a sample. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you go and operate within that sample, if you go do stuff to manipulate it, change the cadence of it, time stretch it, or change the speed, the tempo, change the pitch of it, well, you're adjusting it. And what I would do in the early to late 90s, this was a thing that producers did and they still do now. We did something called chopping a sample. So we'd have like this is for my music, people who know music, but have like a sample that's the length of like 4 measures. And I would take that 4 measures of audio. And if I'm sorry, I don't mean to be
you're all good.
I take that 4 measures of audio and I break it down into 16 pieces. And then I would take those, I would chop it. So like my friends would call me the sample surgeon because I would literally get the sample everybody's loving and then listening to like, oh, that's that shit right there. Josh, excuse my language. But then I get it and break it down and now I've replayed it. They called me the sample surgeon, but then that was cool. But now what was cooler was, man, as I got older and more experienced with it, now they're like, nah, you're the sample samurai. My friends gave me that title.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you see on my logo, you see Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe with the samurais in the back. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's what that is.
That's those samurais are there to let you know. That's just a reminder that I am the sample samurai.
Nice. Yes. I love that. So man, then the things you've been a part of, like we might not have time to do all of it. You mentioned play with RC and Grits, the cannabinoids. That was with Erykah early on,
yes.
Right? What was Black Scientist?
Okay, Black Scientist is a collaboration between me and a producer that's based locally. His name is Dedrick. Okay. All right, man. We have this place that we come from when we collaborate. It's like a futuristic, dark, but vibey sound, and we take that kind of mood, you know what I'm saying, soundscape, and we put really like hard drums or like really just like grimy or saturated drums behind that sound, you know what I'm saying. We like to experiment with sounds. That's where scientists come from.
Yeah,
you know, us being black, but also the soundscape being dark.
Right.
And man, I love to experiment with sounds. People send me stuff because like they'll say, "Hey, Jah, take my sound and make it drunk," or take my sound and make it sound like it's coming out of a cassette in 1968. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's part of my expertise.
That's cool.
And that's what we do, man. We take stuff. We'll take a sample. We'll filter it down. We'll make it sound totally different than the original.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes, sir. So what's up. Shout out to the Dreek, Black Scientist. That is we have a couple songs out, by the way.
Okay.
So if you ever on Spotify,
Cool.
go check out Sophia.
Okay.
All right.
Definitely.
Yes,
I'm sure you're super busy. Like, how, if somebody wanted to work with you, like, how hard is that to do? It's like you're approachable?
It's not too hard to do, man, I work on a lot of projects these days. I'm in the middle of one as we're doing the podcast today. You gotta be good.
Yeah.
First. I don't just accept anybody.
Absolutely.
You gotta be good. You gotta be worth my time. All right. And I can help develop. I'm always going to be a mentor in a creative space as well as a creator. I'm a creator and I'm a mentor, right? But have your ish together, have it together, and be an artist that we know can get it done. We know that is worthy of the prize, and that's I'll make time for that person.
Cool.
Right now, I'm being paid to work in a higher level environments musically.
Absolutely.
So if I'm going to step down and do that, but you got to be good. And now this is the good thing. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and there are so many good artists here.
Yeah.
That's one thing I can say. So when these artists are looking around and work with an experience or a good producer, they're tapping in. They're finding me, and I'm making time. I have a session tonight. I'm meeting with artists that I will be potentially working with.
Cool.
In the future. So, and this happens on a regular. So I'm busy, but I'll make time for the good ones.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of, I've seen Flower Child a few times. That's
Yes,
somebody
sir.
you're working with, yeah.
Oh yeah, man. She she's changed her artist name. She's formerly known as Flower Child. She's now Flowzilla.
Oh, Flowzilla. Yep. Okay,
She goes by Flowzilla.
I saw that on IG, but I didn't realize. Okay, officially announced here. If you didn't already know. Yeah.
And man, we've got a project dropped. When did that drop, man? Last year, September 30th, almost a year ago.
Okay.
We're working on our next album. I want you guys to keep your eyes and ears open for that. She's in a very good space creatively right now. She's on a roll, man.
Yeah. Well, I want her to come on, and she told me she wanted to wait till she finishes that. So
Okay.
hurry up. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you know what? You don't even have to tell me. My brain is saying, "Come on, let's go."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Totally.
Yes.
Also, I know you did some stuff with Galaxy 9 for a little while. Is
Yes.
that right? Yeah. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. That's fine. No, I'm no longer with the Galaxy 9 organization. The years that we did shows in Dallas, man, we made a heavy imprint, and we brought some really good, heavy hitting acts to the city that the city has not seen. Some of them never seen, and some haven't seen in years. One thing I could say is this. We did, and I'm not just going to be this is not a pat myself on the back festival, but we were able to achieve something, good in this town, and I'm happy that we were able to do that. That we were able to entertain or bring entertainment to the Dallas masses. There were so many people that we've had people that met and married from coming to our shows. We helped create social environments. People that were hip hop heads where they had a place to come and be around each other, and then they were doing stuff now outside of after the events together. We were a spark for the city.
Yeah.
So I'm no longer doing any business or representing Galaxy 9, but I do want to. I have to pay homage to the era, which was, I believe, 2017 to 2022.
Yeah. I had somebody say to me that was Dallas hip hop was what they were doing for that time. you know? So that's all I wanted to ask about. I just thought it was relevant.
No, absolutely. I mean, when people see me, some of the last events they see me at were Galaxy 9 events. So,
Right.
Oh yeah, I don't mind speaking about it at all.
One last thing, and then I'm going to ask kind of more general something. I saw on your Instagram, you're doing subscriptions. Is that right?
Subscriptions?
Yeah.
Man, that's weird how the subscription thing works.
Yeah, I don't
on
understand
Instagram,
it, but I just thought I saw, so I was going to ask you about.
This is what I encourage you to do, man. I appreciate the support if you want to subscribe. I don't have any subscriber content yet. I'm building that up right now.
Okay.
I do have other ways you can support me and the artists that are in my creative organization, and that's by first easy thing is go to my Shopify store,
Right.
But and we have Bandcamp, but just continue to watch the videos, hit like. Everybody says hit like, and if that to subscribe, I think it's like 99 cents or something for me. It's super cheap, man.
Okay.
I'm not. I'll have ways we could tap in coming in the future.
Yeah, to me, it didn't strike me as a way to make money for you. It was a way to like people that wanted to be like tapped in to stay connected. That's what it felt like.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. You know what? I've been actively. I am a curator with the largest music curation service in the world, Submit Hub. So, I work for them, so I have to constantly, have content, video ready to roll and stuff like that. So come check out my content. Come to the store, buy a T-shirt. We'll send it, we'll ship it to you same day if we can. Those are ways you can show love and support the movement. I wanted to shout out also to my production team. I work with a great group of individuals that are across the country right now. Jordash Grant. Here in Dallas.
I've worked with Jordash.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Jordash, that's he just called me. That's my bro, Chris and Dondria Thornton down in Houston, Texas. Want to shout out to them. I want to shout out to DJ IQ in New York City. I work with him. And Chris, aka Her Mantra, he's out in Denver, and Just One Beats. Those are my homies, my creative partners, and I wanted to shout out to them, man. They help keep the wheels spinning.
Nice.
Musically for me, and I do also want to shout out to the artists that I work with here locally as well, like Jess Garland.
Yeah, I
want you guys to keep an eye on anything. If you see me and Jess Garland doing some music, something major is about to happen. So okay, guys. Me and Jess Garland, are looking at dropping something soon. That's exclusive to this podcast.
Exciting.
I'm not going to say it anywhere else.
All right, I love it.
All right, but that's exclusive.
Cool.
So I want you guys ears on that when it drops. Okay,
for sure. I'm trying to get her on too, so let's do it at that point. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about the state of Dallas hip hop right now?
Oh man, you know what? This can be a whole dimension of a conversation.
I'll have you back this for that.
If I can put this in a nutshell, the pandemic, and then there's been a decline or an absence of opportunities, a lack of opportunities for the viable Dallas artist talent to show, to display what they have here, and also the influx of people from California and New York, the other two coasts. In the last 3 years or more, there has been a higher than average pouring of people like coming into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. All right. The interest in what's happening in the local music scene has dwindled. There's been an economy shift as well. So you're talking about outside money coming into Dallas, right? Influencing what's happening, right? Taking over. We got local businesses that have been doing stuff for years that's now about to lose their business. They got to sell. So those are the places that used to be where we would go.
Yeah.
See our peoples. Now, fortunately, we got 3 Links still.
Sure.
We got the Freeman.
Yeah.
And a couple of other venues. We're still holding on. But that's slim pickings.
Yeah.
It's like I say, like the landscape has changed in the places that we used to gather. It's changed completely. And I've seen a couple venues just disappear.
Yeah.
And man, it's just harder to get in. So the scene has taken a major hit here. Now here's why that's not too bad. Okay, Dallas is a new world. Nah, it's a new place. Yeah. It's not the same. Even though Dallas has ended and then rebuilt and ended, like the Dallas world has like apocalypsed a couple times and come back. Music
Right.
world, okay?
Right.
So I firmly believe that the talent that we have now that's going to emerge, it's going to be pretty good. and the opportunities will come back. They're there. All right. As long as we know and seize the moment and come together as a community and communicate more with each other and spend money with each other, guys.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to be all right. But at this moment, it's just we're not at our best, man.
Yeah.
There's been a pandemic. There's a recession. There's a lot of things that are changing the landscape around us.
Absolutely.
So, we'll just have to be the ones to weather this transition. Yes, sir.
Well said. All right. Well, you've talked about a few, but just as we're like kind of ending it here, who are some of the artists that you got stuff coming out with, or some of the projects you're working on that's coming up?
Oh, man, the ones I could talk about, because a lot of stuff is under wraps. But I want to say this. Be on the lookout for Flozilla's next album. My collaboration with her is coming. And I'm also working with a very good artist. He's based out of Houston, and they've done some big records. Her and her husband, Chris Thornton, but Drea Thornton. I want to shout out to her. Any of the stuff you see that I got with Flozilla or Drea, that's that heat. That's that good music.
All right.
Stay tuned.
All
okay.
Right. Cool.
And I'll be sprinkling some drops on you guys with my production team. I'm an instrumentalist. And man, I've got some stuff coming. Be on the lookout for my next album with Jordash as well. That's this year,
cool.
And it's badass.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. It's a great way to start the season.
Absolutely.
Jah Born people, thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man.
I'd like to thank Jah Born for stopping by. It was fantastic having him here and hearing all those stories. The theme song is Salim Nirala's Unstoppable. We love that, and we love him. And I'm very excited for season 2. There's a lot of great guests coming up, and I know that you're going to enjoy all of them. So just tune in, keep your eye out for what's next, and we'll talk to you next time.